The anime begins by placing us in a magic academy called Ortigia, and there we see how the protagonist calls Ariel and meets a teacher, who announces that he will have to repeat the course, because despite having passed in all subjects with a good grade, the prota failed the invocation, revealing that he is not yet able to invoke and make a contract with a relative, which are creatures that accompany magicians, and there the teacher tells him that he has until the morning to get a contract with a relative. And after this meeting we see how the prota leaves the classroom and meets his childhood friend named Lilia, who gets angry with the teacher when she finds out that the prota is about to repeat the year, since Lilia is in love with him and does not want him to repeat. But Annette Prada asks him to calm down, go to the academy library to try to summon a relative. And at that moment we see how an invocation book accidentally falls on the prota's head. So when he sees it, the prota decides to take it to his room, and seeing that he could summon a relative, the prota decides to use the instructions of the book, with which he manages to create a magic circle, and there the ritual to summon his new familiar begins. But in that we see how the prota invokes a demon named Valeria, which begins to seduce him while tells her that she will do anything she wants. And upon hearing that, the prota asks Valeria to become his relative, which causes the contract of both to be activated. And there we see how Valeria becomes the prota's relative successfully, so she decides to kiss the prota to feed on his mana, since that is the payment she decided to receive in return. And after this Valeria tells the prota that he has a lot of mana, revealing to us that that was the reason why no relative wanted to approach him. And then Valeria tells him that he agreed to be her relative as a thank you, since she was trapped for a long time in the book that the prota found. And then the next day we see how the prota takes Valeria to the academy disguised or human, where everyone is surprised to see that she made a contract with a human, since this is the first time that happens. And in that Valeria shows the mark of the contract to the teacher, which causes him to decide whether to approve the prota, so he is happy to hear this. And then we see how the prota starts teaching his classes next to Valeria, which causes make Lilia jealous. So at the end of the classes Lilia decides to look for the prota, and there she challenges him a duel, in which if she wins, the prota will not be able to attract Valeria to the academy. And upon hearing this Valeria decides to accept the duel, and there she tells him that if they win, then Lilia will have to fulfill a request of the prota. So after this agreement, the three meet in a dual tower of the academy, where all the combat will be transmitted by magic screens. And once there Lilia invokes her familiar, which turns out to be a spirit of wind named Sabina, and with the help of her relative, Lilia uses a powerful wind spell. But in that Valeria stops the attack with her body, revealing that she has a great resistance. So after this, Valeria begins to scare Lilia with her demonic aura, and she begins to abuse Lilia, which causes her to lose after this. So she decides to accept any desire of the prota, and upon hearing this the prota asks her to be friends with Valeria, and then asks Valeria the same. So in that they both decide to shake hands even though they still don't get along very well. And after that the prota and Valeria return to the room, where she starts to drain the prota's mana again, which causes the prota to ask her why she needs so much mana left over, to which Valeria responds by saying that being locked up for years has made her very weak. So now she needs to recover mana so as not to disappear. And the next day the prota and Valeria return to the academy, since the prota could pass the second year having passed all his subjects, and in that a crazed dragon appears running in front of them. So when Valeria sees him she decides to send him to fly with the only finger, which causes everyone to be surprised. And after this we see how the prota attends all his classes with Valeria, and then he decides to return to his room after finishing classes. But in that they are stopped by a 5th year student named Alex, who appears looking for problems on behalf of the dragon riders, since the dragon that Valeria sent to fly belongs to one of his classmates. So when noticing this the prota decides to attack them by surprise using an ice spell. But in that Alex invokes his relative, which turns out to be a powerful dinosaur called Turin. And in that Alex sends him to attack the boys. But there Valeria holds the prota, and gives him part of the mana he absorbed the day before, revealing that she can enhance the magic of the prota when it is inside her body. So in that the prota uses a much more powerful ice spell, with which he manages to defeat Alex's relative easily. So after this Alex decides to apologize to them. And after this the prota returns to the room with Valeria, and there he begins to talk about the magicians of his country, revealing to us that these are classified from the bronze to the gold rank. But in that the prota reveals to him that there is a higher rank to which he wishes to reach called platinum, which is the highest rank that a magician who has made great contributions to magic has. And upon hearing that Valeria hugs the prota, and there she tells him that she will help him fulfill his dreams. And then the next day they both return to the academy, and there they meet a noble named Marcus, and his maid is named Cheryl. So there they spend a nice moment together, but then they are interrupted by a teacher, who sends the prota to Lilia and Cheryl with the director. And once there he decides to give them a test to choose the representative of the 2nd year class, and those 3 are the most qualified. So they are sent to a forest to find a fairy flower, and in that we see how Marcus sneaked the test too. But after a few minutes he gets caught in the trap of a plant. So Cheryl decides to stay with him while the prota and Lilia continue their search. So those manage to find the fairy flower, but in that they realize that this is protected by a Cervero. So Lilia decides to take an invisibility potion and snuff herself to avoid being discovered. However, she is easily discovered by the Cervero when she stands in front of him. So the Proto appears and stops him using a spell. And there he asks Lilia to go ahead to pick up the flower. And then Valeria uses a part of her demonic power, which creates a powerful ray that eliminates the Cervero in a few seconds. And after this we see how Lilia returns with the flower from Fairy, but in that the Proto gives it to him because he deserves it more than she does. However, the flower flies out of Lilia's hand by a strong wind, which causes him to she falls near Cheryl, who manages to pick her up and win the test. So after this we see how she becomes a representative of her class, so everyone starts congratulating her. And after this we see how the Proto and Valeria are walking through the academy, but in that the Dragon Riders appear led by a girl named Christina, who belongs to the Civental Council that is full of magicians of golden rank, so everyone starts to admire her. But after this we move to the base of the Dragon Riders, where we see how Christina starts to beat Alex for having lost against the Proto, and then she starts to bully Alex's dinosaur, which causes him to get angry. So Alex decides to quit the Riders Club, which causes Christina to throw him out of the base completely hurt. And then the next day we see how the Proto and the girl visit Alex, since the Proto was worried about him. And there Alex asks the Proto what he thinks about dinosaurs, to which the Proto responds by telling him that although they give scary, they're still great, which causes Alex to be cheerful, and in that he asks the Proto to leave because he is not to blame for anything. But after this we see how the Proto goes towards the dueling tower of the academy, revealing to us that a duel was challenged to Christina, so Lilia tries to stop him, but the Proto decides to continue his way. So after a few minutes he reaches the top with Valeria, and there he meets Christina, who invokes her familiar dragon called Whirlwind. So in that Valeria kisses the Proto to give her the boosted mana, which she uses to attack Christina with ice magic. But Christina begins to shoot several fireballs with her finger, which causes the Proto's spell to be easily destroyed. And there she attacks the Proto, but Valeria begins to use her body as a shield to defend it. However, she begins to weaken for each shield she stops, revealing to us how powerful Christina is. But the Proto and Valeria still do not give up, so they both use a powerful ice spell against Christina, and in that we see how Ice manages to dodge it easily with her dragon, and then begins to shooting fireballs at them from the air. But in that the boys shoot a big block of ice, which is divided into several pieces upon impact with Christina's fire, causing Christina to lose concentration. And there she realizes that the boys are under her, but in that it is revealed that they use the pieces of ice to reach Christina. And then the Proto falls on Christina's dragon, and points at her with the ice sword, thus winning the duel. So after this we see how all the girls at the academy start to be interested in the Proto, which it causes Lilia to get jealous. But in that a teacher from the academy named Oliver appears, who stops the fuss while congratulating the Proto for his victory. So the Proto thanks him, and in a change of scene we see how Christina is cleaning the base of the Riders, since when she lost with the Proto, she was forced to do the club chores, and in that she apologizes to Alex, which causes him to be surprised. So in that Alex decides to help her with the cleaning. And then in a change of scene we see how the Proto tries to sleep in his room, but in that Valeria appears on him trying to kiss him, which causes the Proto to get nervous, and she tells him that people should kiss when they are in love, to which Valeria responds by telling him that she is in love with him, which causes the Proto to be surprised to hear this. So the next day he decides to ask Oliver if it is possible for a demon to fall in love with a human. Upon hearing this, Oliver tells him about the succubi to the Proto, but in that he mentions that he does not know if his actions are moved by true love, since the main reason why demons get together with humans is to steal their mana. So after this conversation, the Proto decides to meet with Valeria again, to whom he asks if she is only with him for his mana, but in that Valeria kisses the Proto without draining his magic, and there he tells her that she really loves him. So the Proto calms down after hearing his answer, and the next day we see how the Proto meets Oliver again, to whom he thanks for clarifying his doubts. And after this we see as Oliver calls a fourth-year student, to whom he asks to do him a favor while he shows him a syringe. And after a few hours we see how the same student was found frozen in a living room, being there the fourth case that has occurred in a short time. So the council begins to investigate this case. And on the other hand, we see how Christina is at the base of the Riders, and there it is revealed that the culprit is Alex, who is possessed like his relative. So Christina attacks him using a fire spell, but in that Alex goes through the fire without any problem. So there he uses a rock spell with which he sends Christina flying, and then he holds her by the clothes to finish her. However, the Proto and Valeria appear in front of them, since one of the Riders warned them about Alex's change. So the Proto decides to fight him when he sees what he did to Christina, and there Alex invokes his relative to kill everyone who is present. However, a mysterious student appears, and in that he uses a sword with which he easily defeats Alex and his. And after this it is revealed to us that this girl named Alina is the president of the student council. So when the conflict is over, she asks Valeria if she knows anything about what has just happened, to which Valeria responds and says no. And then the next day we see how Alex is stable inside the infirmary. So everyone continues their classes, and there we see how the second-year boys receive the news that they will soon have an exam, which turns out to be the certification exam to climb to the bronze class. So the boys will have to study for that. So Valeria takes the opportunity and mentions that she will go to her room to rest. But along the way we see how Valeria crosses Oliver by accident. So Elle starts talking to her, and in that Valeria tells him that she knows that he is the culprit of Alex's case and the other students, revealing to us that Oliver's plan is to experiment with students in order to turn the demons. And in that Valeria tells him that he can do whatever he wants as long as he does not mess with the Proto, since if he does something to her then so. And that Oliver realizes that Valeria is a real demon. So he injects a soil to Valeria when she is neglected, and there Valeria starts to get out of control and to release her demonic power, which causes the Proto and the golden magicians of the academy to realize that. So the Proto goes out to look for Valeria with Lilia, and on the other hand Alina also leaves the academy to find out what is happening, but in that she is stopped by several, which turns into a big monster that prevents her from moving forward. And in a change of scene we see how the Proto and Lilia manage to meet Valeria, who is chained by Oliver, who reveals to the Proto that he is the cause of all the strange cases in the academy. So there he mentions that he always uses his students as guinea pigs, and when he hears that the Proto gets angry with him, which causes Valeria to go crazy one more and break Oliver's chain. So everyone there is surprised to see that, and there Valeria jumps towards Oliver to kill him, but in that the Proto gets in the way and receives Valeria's attack, which causes her chest to be completely pierced. And seeing this Valeria gets angry and begins to change to a more terrifying form, and there she tries to kill Oliver again, which causes him to be completely scared. But in that the Proto appears again and hugs Valeria, and there they make him bring reason by telling him that he is her master, which causes Valeria to return to her normal form while she's crying. And there the Proto tells her that everything will be fine. But after saying that the Proto falls on the ground, so seeing him in that state Valeria decides to save him. So in that she kisses the Proto, and there her heart joins with his, which makes her it causes the wound on his chest to heal quickly. And upon witnessing that Oliver goes crazy with anger, so he takes out a special serum to inject it into his neck, which causes Oliver to become a demon hybrid, and there he tries to kill them all. But in that Valeria hits him with a single fist, which causes Oliver to lose half of his body in a second. So he gets scared and tries to escape from Valeria. However, Christina appears and stops him with her fireball, which allows him to Valeria catches up to Oliver, whom she knocks out with a single blow. And there he mentions not to kill him because the Proto sacrificed himself for him to live. And after this we see how the Proto wakes up again. So Lilia hugs him while crying with happiness. And on the other hand we see how the monster made by paper disappears him to stop fighting Alina, thus ending the conflict. And after this fight the Proto meets alone with Valeria, who tells him that from now on if one of them dies, then the other person will also die, since she had to join her hand and heart to his. But in that the Proto gets sad to know that Valeria will no longer be able to be immortal. So in that she apologizes, and after this meeting it is revealed to us that Oliver was imprisoned. And then it is mentioned to us that the boys with whom he experimented are already well. So they all begin to live their normal lives apparently. But in this we see how now the Proto needs Valeria's mana to be able to continue living. And after this Valeria begins to distance herself a little more from the Proto, since she thinks that the Proto is now afraid of him after having seen his true form. But in that the Proto kisses her without filling her mana, and there he tells her that Alina needs his side, which causes Valeria to blush. And after that we see how the Proto returns to the solo class, since Valeria asks for some time alone to think about everything that has happened. And there we see how she is alone in a viewpoint. But in that appears Lilia, who mentions that she knows that she is a demon. So Valeria apologizes for hiding it. And there Lilia tells him that it doesn't matter if she's a demon or really, since the only important thing is what Valeria feels for the Proto, and what he feels for Valeria. So there he asks her to trust him more, which causes Valeria to clarify her doubts and thank Lilia. So after this Valeria meets with the Proto in his room, and there he tells her that she wants to be with him forever despite everything he did. And when he hears that the Proto feels relieved, since he did not want to force her to do something that she did not want. So she is happy to listening to this. So at that moment you see the Proto demonstrating his feelings towards him. And then the next day we see how Valeria now has the uniform of the academy. So both are preparing to return. And then in a change of scene we see how two guys named Lolita and Hector are in a palace. And there we see how they start talking about Oliver, since he worked for them both. And in this they are attacked by a priest. But he is defeated in a few seconds by a relative of the couple. And there it is revealed to us that Lolita and Hector are platinum-ranked magicians, who are about to carry out an evil plan. And on the other hand we see how the Proto brings Valeria to his classroom, which causes everyone to thank him, since they missed her. And after this we see how the boys are about to start class. However, it is interrupted by Alina and two more members of the student council, who appear to look for the Proto and Valeria. So after this they meet in the council office, which causes the Proto to get scared, since they probably discovered Valeria's identity. But in that Alina starts talking about the Oliver's accident, asking them only for information about this, since they received the news that Oliver escaped from prison. So when he hears that the Proto calms down, and there he tells Alina that he will tell everything he knows. But in that Alina gets serious, and asks if there is anything else that he is hiding. And in this we see how the Proto and Valeria are threatened by the other members of the council, which causes Valeria to ask the problem of not doing something reckless, since their lives are connected. So in that the Proto decides to reveal to them that Valeria is actually a demon, so in that he asks them to punish him, without hurting her, because if Valeria gets hurt then the Proto will oppose all of them. And upon hearing this, Alina tells him to stay calm, since neither of them will be punished, and in that she mentions that the Proto and Valeria could help them. So in that she proposes to the Proto to join the student council, since that way he will be able to defend the academy from any threat. So after so much insistence, the Proto decides to accept. So after the meeting, we see as he meets with his friends, to whom he reveals that he will now be part of the council, which causes everyone to be surprised. But then Marcus is happy for him, and after that the Proto and Valeria return to the room, and in that she mentions that Alina is very dangerous, so she asks him to take care of her, and in that the Proto tells Valeria to become stronger, since he wants to protect her without even discovering his identity as a demon, which causes Valeria to be happy to hear this. And then the next day the Proto and Valeria meeting with the members of the council, and there Alina shows them a paper doll that she was able to recover from their last fight. So each of the students begins to review it. And in that Alina mentions that inside the piece of paper there is a complex magic, revealing to them that no magician of golden rank has been able to decipher it. So Alina comes to the conclusion that the enemy they are facing is of platinum rank. And in a change of scene, we see how Lolita and Hector arrive at a secret laboratory, where they meet a platinum class magician named Karen, which controls the paper dolls that attacked Alina. And there she asks Lolita if she can convince the priests of a proposal in the Golden Tower, to which Lolita replies that she simply killed them all, which causes Karen to be surprised. And after this Lolita decides to retire with Hector, but in that he collects 2 photographs of the laboratory, in which the Proto and Valeria are, revealing that they are both their targets. And on the other hand the Proto begins to have a strange dream, which meets a mysterious female, who starts to ask the Proto how he feels about Valeria, but in that the Proto wakes up. So there he decides to study for the promotion exam to the bronze rank. And the next day the Proto is preparing to present the exam, but in that he notices how the book where Valeria was sealed is standing out. So the Proto decides to grab it to read it. However, Valeria mentions that they will be late for the test, so the Proto takes the book by accident. And after this the Proto and Valeria meet with their friends, and there they go to the building where the test will be held. But along the way several students from other academies start talking about the boys, since the Ortigia Academy is known for having brilliant students. So the Proto begins to feel a little pressured, and after a few minutes the boys arrive at the place where the practice test will be held. And there they are greeted by the colonel named Matteo, who mentions that the practice test consists of filling a small flame with a herd, which is inside a magic sphere. So when listening to this the students are reassured to think that the test is very easy. But the Proto decides to be alert, since he considers that the test probably has something hidden. And after this we see how the first participant shows up to do the test. However, he does not manage to make the flame alter in some way, and then several students begin to pass one by one. But they are all failed after trying with all their might. But in that Lilia realizes that all the students are failing because they underestimated the test. And after that she stands in front of the sphere next to Sabina, and there Lilia decides to concentrate her magic directly on the flame, ignoring the crystal, with which she manages to make the flame increase in size. So everyone is surprised to see this, and there Matteo decides to try it. And after this we see how Patent Leather uses her magic, and makes the flame increase its size easily. And then Marco's turn comes, which begins to have difficulties injecting his magic into the flame. But after trying for a while, Marcos manages to pass the test with the necessary, and after a few hours the priority calls to present the proof. And once there he begins to analyze the crystal sphere, realizing in the process that it is protected by a magic spell. So in that he notices that the back of the sphere is easier to alter the flame. So the priority asks Matteo if he can do the test from anywhere, to which Matteo responds that if completely surprised, since the priority realized the secret of the test on his own. But in that the priority decides to place himself in the most difficult position of the sphere, since he plans to demonstrate his skill with magic, and in that he activates his power, which causes the flame to increase and turn silver, and in that Valeria asks the priority not to hold back. So when he hears that the priority decides to use his maximum power, causing the crystal sphere close to receive so much magic. So Matteo is shocked after seeing that, and in that the priority gets nervous and apologizes to Matteo. But this one tells him that he has tried the test with the perfect grade. So when he hears that the priority 1 is amazed, and there Matteo tells him to prepare for the written test. So the priority 1 decides to rest in the courtyard with his friends, and there Matteo is glad to have found someone like the priority 1, since only a platinum ranked magician could have been able to destroy the crystal. And on the other hand we see how the guys are eating in the courtyard, and there they begin to talk about the rank tests, revealing to us that there was a special person who presented the tests, which was able to pass all the tests with the highest score. And after that Valeria tells the priority that he could be the second person to achieve it. So she starts to encourage him, and after resting the boys get ready to present the written test. However, Valeria decides to stay alone with the priority to kiss him, since the priority lost a lot of mana during the practice test. So she takes the moment to give him mana. And on the other hand we see how a student enters the bathroom to wash his hands, but in that he finds Lawlight, who leaves him seriously injured, and then steals his identification to be able to infiltrate the bronze rank test. And in a change of scene we see how the Proto arrives in time to present the test. And before entering there he tells Valeria that relatives are forbidden to pass, so the Proto asks her to wait outside. And after this he enters the living room, where he realizes that the seat next to him is empty. But in that Lolita appears in front of the Proto, and there wishes him luck in the test with a big smile. And after this we see how the written test begins. So the Proto begins to concentrate on each of the questions, but in that he notices how Lolita is sleeping, which causes him to be completely surprised. However, the Proto decides to concentrate on his exam, where he realizes that this year's exam is more difficult than the previous ones, since he has questions for exams of silver rank despite being bronze. But in that his thoughts are interrupted by noticing how Lolita wakes up. And there the Proto realizes that Lolita will not have time to answer all the questions. However, Lolita grabs her pen and begins to answer everything easily, managing to finish her test in a few seconds. So the Proto is surprised to see this. And after this Lolita reveals to the Proto that no one will finish the exam today. And in that we see how Supervisor interrupts the test. And there she mentions that a dead student was found in the bathroom, which causes everyone to be surprised. And in that the test supervisor realizes that Lolita is not a student. So in that Lolita creates a powerful stone golem, with which he destroys everything around him. And there the supervisor tries to stop him using a spell. However, Lolita breaks his arm using the golem. And in that Mateo appears and destroys part of the golem with his fist. And after that Valeria enters through the window and attacks Lolita. However, this stops his attack easily. And in that Mateo reveals to the Proto that Lolita is the youngest platinum rank in history, which makes the Proto amazed. And here he also realizes that he was the one who approved everything with the maximum grade. But still the Proto decides to join the struggle to get everyone to evacuate from the site. But after a few minutes we see how Lolita starts to overcome them all easily. And in that Lolita captures Valeria with her stone golem, which causes the Proto to get completely angry and free of his power. And in that he uses an ice spell with which the golem redistricts him. So when Lolita sees that she gets excited and tries to use the stone golem again. But the Proto destroys it again. And after that he tries to attack Lolita. However, this stops him summoning some knights. And there the Proto asks Lolita what she plans to do with Valeria. To which he responds by saying that he needs his powers to destroy the world. So when he hears that the Proto tries to attack him, however Lolita knocks him down easily, and in that Valeria transforms into her demonic form to attack Lolita. But he uses a powerful spell, with which he puts Valeria out of combat in a few seconds. And after this we see how the Proto tries to stop Lolita again. So he decides to use his knight to eliminate him. But in that Valeria's book that is in the Proto activates, repelling Lolita's attack in an instant. And after that she shows herself in front of the Proto while invoking a magician named Fatima, revealing to us at that moment that she was the woman of the Proto's dream. And in that Fatima tells the Proto that she is the magician who took Valeria in the book, which causes the Proto to get angry with her. But in that Fatima tells him that it was Valeria who asked him to do it. And after that she tells the Proto that Valeria is imprisoned in her memories. So there she asks the Proto to help to save her, to which the Proto agrees. And in this Lolita tries to stop them using a spell. However, Fatima uses a magic that makes her, Valeria and the Proto disappear. And then in a change of scene, we see the Proto next to Fatima in the sky. And there Fatima reveals that she is 500 years ago in the past, where the Proto will have to free Valeria from the scourge of her past. And in that the Proto finds Valeria as a girl, which causes him to be surprised. And he sees that Valeria is talking to a nun who considers her sister. And there Fatima mentions that Valeria was happy as now, but she comments that the congratulations she felt before to the one of now are very different. And suddenly some children appear telling Valeria that she is taking a lot of time from the nun. So they get jealous and also go to her to spend time with the sister and hug her. In that Fatima tells the Proto that all those children are not of the same blood but they consider themselves family. And in a change of scene we see Valeria eating. And she tells the girl named Maria that what she cooked was very delicious. There Valeria comments that she made a flower crown for the sister. And when they hear that the children named Lynn and Key say that they want to do it too. In that Fatima comments that they lived in a ruined church on the outskirts of the city. And despite being poor they were always smiling. And she says that those were the happiest times of her life. Then at night Valeria asks the sister if he is a demon since she saw that he has horns on his head. The sister when she hears this she says yes and that she doesn't have to worry. There Valeria tells her that Maria told her that demons are the worst enemies of God. The sister tells that only some demons are bad, and that Valeria asks him why he takes care of her even though she may be bad. But the sister tells him that she and all the children are her family, and then the sister finishes fixing Valeria's bun so that they don't give horns. So Valeria gets very happy, and there the Proto realizes that the sister was the only one who knew that Valeria was a demon. When she saw this Fatima tells him that at that time demons were feared, and she was more afraid of him than today. And despite that's why the sister decided to take care of Valeria. And upon hearing this the Proto wonders why Valeria decided to seal herself. And in a change of scene we see Valeria being attacked with stones by some children who discovered that she was a demon. But in that Maria arrives and scares the children to leave. And as she approaches Valeria realizes the horns and that she is a demon. There Valeria asks for forgiveness for not telling the truth and begins to cry. But suddenly Maria hugs her and tells her not to worry. And after this we see that the whole town found out that Valeria is a demon. So they go to the church to throw stones and demand that Valeria leave the city. But the sister refuses to leave her alone and protects her inside the church. And then we know that all the citizens always went to the church to tell the sister that she drives Valeria. And the Proto, when he sees this, gets upset. And Fatima tells him that some time ago there was a plague in the city that killed many people. So the citizens think that all this is Valeria's fault. There the sister goes out to explain that Valeria is a good person. But we see that they understand. In that Maria tells Valeria to escape because she is afraid that something will be done to her. And when they also escape, she tells her that one day they will meet again. And in a change of scene we see Valeria fleeing, but the citizens are looking for her. And they comment that they will make the sister and the children tell her where Valeria is by force. And she, hearing this, she does not want her family to get hurt. So she starts running back to the church to save them. But when she arrives, she sees that her whole family were killed by the citizens. Valeria is shocked and begins to cry, so the citizens find her. And having the memories of her family, she gets up completely angry and transforms into her demon form and burns the whole place, being she the only survivor. And then when she sees what she did, she begins to apologize and regret. And the Proto, seeing all this, is surprised. And there Fatima tells him that after that Valeria began to live a lonely life. And in that the Proto comes down to where Valeria is. And we see that she turns around and asks who she is. But the Proto doesn't know what to answer. And when she sees this, she already starts crying. There he comes up and hugs her, telling her that everything is fine. Suddenly Valeria transforms into her adult form and tells her that it was never her intention to hurt someone. And that's why she didn't tell him her past. Because she thinks that if she knows, no one will love her. There the Proto tells her that it doesn't matter if the whole world turns against her, since he will always be on her side and wants to be with her forever. And then they all kiss. And we see that some chains that Valeria had break. And then they return to the present, where the Proto tells Valeria that he loves her and that she will never be alone again. So after this, Lolita tells them that she has just broken the mythical object with which they can stop it. And she comments that she did not think it would be so difficult. So she gets excited to have a battle with the Proto. So the second one later takes out his golem again. But this time he transforms into a knight riding a horse. There Lolita tells the Proto that she knows about Valeria's past and how he saw. And he tells her because he is protecting her, knowing that demons are evil. And a destructive power like Valeria's shouldn't exist. Besides that, he doesn't know how to control her power. And he also tells her that Valeria's powers can erase the whole world, since her demonic power is so strong and is so cursed that no demon is as strong as her. So he plans to take all the power from Valeria to destroy the world. And there Lolita tells Valeria that if she keeps treating the Proto as a weak boy, he will never be stronger. But there the Proto interrupts him, and he tells her that no one cares if Valeria is a demon. And he comments that he is the only one who knows what she really looks like. And he tells her that if he knows that Valeria likes desserts, or he knows how horrible it makes her feel to remember her past about what happened that day. But Lolita doesn't want to hear this, and he tells her that he won't be able to stop what is about to happen. In that the Proto tells Valeria that they have to fight together, so they both activate their mana. And then Lolita sends to attack her horse, that he throws a powerful attack at the Proto and Valeria. But quickly the Proto grabs Valeria's hand and uses a spell on the ground where a huge ice comes out that stops the horse's attack. And not only that, since he also manages to eliminate it. Lolita, seeing this, is surprised and tells him that now if he will use his true power. But suddenly he is stopped by the magician Karen. And Lolita tells him that she wants to keep fighting. There the Proto, seeing her, realizes that this girl is of platinum rank. In that Karen tells him that those who are outside are about to enter. So she tells him that fighting would be useless. After that, Lolita tells the Proto and Valeria that next time she will beat them using her power from the beginning. And then Lolita goes through the portal next to Karen. And the Proto, when he sees that, tries to stop him, but he is stopped by Valeria. And there he understands that he does not have much mana left, so he lets him go. And suddenly Fatima appears, who tells the Proto that he was going to his days with Valeria, and that he has to be prepared for the worst. In that the Proto promises Valeria to become stronger to protect her from all those who want to hurt her. Upon hearing that, Valeria gets excited. And then Fatima goes away, telling Valeria to trust the Proto. And then we see how the whole place returns to normal. And the Proto picks up the book and asks Valeria if Fatima was the magician who sealed it. To which she replies that yes. At that, Lilia enters crying because she was worried about the Proto. In a change of scene we see the Proto training with the sword but ends up beating her. And then in the next round, Christina trains with the Proto and tells her that she has to learn to defend herself in cases that I can't use magic. After the training, the Proto thanks them for helping him get stronger. And then he goes to his room, and at night Valeria thanks the Proto for telling him that he loves her. And is happy to know that she accepts him as he is. And the Proto, when he hears this, he gets very happy. Then the next day the Proto and Valeria go to the student council. And there Alina tells everyone that those incidents have caused a lot of damage in the academy. And the biggest losers were the students. And tells them that he cannot stay without doing something. In this all the members agree with her, since they have to protect the students. And the Proto has decided to help to be able to face Lolita again. And so ends the first season of this anime. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to support this video with a subscription and a like. See you again.